Hi there, I'm Christopher Dunnigan. This is HandmadeInVermont.com. Today we're talking about the Hubbardton Forge Pendant. This is going to be the 136355. This is the smaller of the two sizes. Check out the larger ones too because they're quite fabulous. Okay, let's get into a lot of details on this. We're going to talk about the size of the fixture body first, and that's going to be the bottom part independent of what it's hanging from. I'll get more into this in just a little bit. This is 16.6 inches tall, 44.4 inches wide. The depth of it is 18.5. If you were looking down on this, it is not round, so we just talked about those dimensions. It's actually more of an oval shape. Keep that in mind. It's also, the arms on this, a lot of people think they may be able to move. They do not move. They are fixed in place. Again, something you guys should know. Okay. So now let's talk about those adjustable ranges. And you can see there's a pull-down menu up there, and it talks about 3 different adjustable ranges that you guys can pick from. That's going to be overall height, and that when we talk about overall height, we're talking about the distance from the bottom of the fixture to the actual ceiling itself. Hubbardton Forge has a patent on a telescoping rod system. Smaller, thinner rod's going to telescope into the thicker rod, and where they come together, see that, is called a clutch. And this clutch right here has a tiny little friction sleeve hiding inside of it. There's a little set screw right on the side. During your installation, you're going to bring it up and down to get it where you want the fixture, where you want it to be. And once you're done, you're going to tighten that little set screw with a tiny little wrench that's going to come with it, locking it into place so it doesn't go up and down anymore. You want to do a couple things. You want to tell your installer to keep some extra wire, like longer wire, up in the ceiling, just in case you ever want to bring it down again lower, or you want to move it to a place with a higher ceiling. Just something to think about. The other thing is, when this is being installed, you want to be there. Don't just tell them how high above the table you want it to be or count or whatever. You want to be there to see this in action, so it's exactly where you want it to be. Once they cut wires, it's really hard to change things later on, so it's better just to do it right the first time. Okay? Canopy on this. This is your canopy right here. It's 5 by 7. It's an oval, which is a little different than Hubbardton Forge's other fixtures. It's going to go over a standard 4-inch junction box. This is the guy right here. This only weighs 16 pounds. There's no weight restrictions on it. It's really light, so it just goes onto the canopy with no problem at all. Great way for you to see a lot of these details is to look at the installations instructions. They're on our website, on the page for this fixture. Over on this side screen, midway down, you're going to see a link. It's going to say, click here for installations instructions PDF. Open that up for me. It's going to show you how this goes all together, how it goes on your junction box, how all this goes together, how you put your glass on, lots of nice little details like that. So take advantage of it. It's on like most of the Hubbardton Forge fixtures, okay? So why don't we move into, let's talk about those ranges. So remember, we're talking about the distance from the bottom of the fixture to the ceiling. Short is 31.4 to 40.4. Standard is 41.8 to 50.8. Long is 50.2 to 59.2. So we know the body of the fixture is 16.6, and the short begins at 31.4. We also do customs, and if you need it to be shorter than the short, so I could probably get down much shorter than 31.4. Remember, the body of the fixture is only 16.6. So, or longer than the long. Let's say you're hanging this from a cathedral ceiling or a 2-story room or something like that, way up there, and you need it to be much longer than 59.2. You're going to email me and you're going to say, I'm looking at the 136355. I need it to be this long from the bottom of the fixture to the ceiling. What can you do for me? And you're going to give me a solid number. So you're going to say, you can say something like 24 or 156, something like that. I'm going to take your email. It's going to go through Hubbardton Forge's customs department, come back to me with a quote. Adds a little time and money, but we do customs every day. They'll most likely come back with a range that can encompass the number you give me, unless you need it super short, and then it'd most likely be a fixed height. But it's easy to do. We do it all the time. Don't be afraid. It's always free to ask these kind of questions, okay? And like I said, we do it every single day. Probably half of my day is doing custom stuff. Because this stuff's all made to order here in Castleton, Vermont, which is only about 30 minutes away, so it's so super simple. Okay, moving on from there, let's talk about what's really important on this, and it's going to be the socket and what you can put into it and how the glass goes on. So you have 2 different types of glass. I'm going to get into the details on the glass later on, but how they go on is different. So this one is actually, it just has a hole in it, and it's going to be being held to the fixture with this retaining tube that has threading on it. So this is the one where you're going to be putting this up like this onto the fixture, using your hand just to tighten this, and you're going to hold it on that way. The other one actually has a ring that has threading in it embedded in it already. So you're just going to screw it on like that. I'll talk about all this stuff later on. But what's in this is going to be a G9 socket, and you've got 6 of these. If you want to go halogen, and they're just little push, little prongy things like that, just push right in, little guys. You can go 40 watts for incandescent halogen in each of these fixtures, each of the sockets. So that's going to be 40 watts there. If you want to go LED, there's no limit. The only limit is, can I get it into the glass? And the glass is pretty big, obviously, so these are very small. You can just go to town as far as the LEDs go. Lots of details on the LEDs. So when you get into the LEDs, a couple things. If you're going to be doing this clear, then this comes into gray or clear, don't forget you're probably going to be seeing some of the bulb poking out of this tube. So you want to buy a bulb that is aesthetically pleasing to you. And the bulbs are so cheap, you can play around on Amazon or go to Lowe's or whatever. Try different bulbs. Some of them have like a milky diffuser on them. Some of them are clear. There's all kinds of different ones out there. This is a cob LED. Looks like a corn cob. This is a phosphorus LED. It's got that strip inside. So, and they come in different wattages, but they're very low wattage. This one is probably a 75 watt equivalent. This is a 40 watt equivalent, and this is probably a 40 watt equivalent as well. But don't forget, you've got 6 of these, so that's going to be providing a lot of light. It's also a dimmable fixture. If you're going to be using halogens, you can use a regular dimmer. If you're going to be using LEDs, you're going to want to tell your installer that you need a dimmer that's going to be set up for LEDs, and they'll know what you're talking about. Okay? The other thing on these guys is, what did I want to say about this more? Oh, color temperature of light. We talk about it all the time. So when you're out buying your light bulbs, don't forget, you are going to be able to choose in your LEDs the color temperature of the light coming down. This is 3000 Kelvin. It's warm white, kind of like an incandescent. That's going to be lower on the Kelvin scale. Like 3000 is way down here. Way up here is going to be 4000, 5000 Kelvin. That's called daylight. So remember, that's that kind of doctor's office bluish light, white light that's like outdoor light. Some people absolutely love that. Don't be afraid to try different things out to see what you guys think. Don't forget, again, dimmable fixture, and you're good. So something we really need to get into in detail is going to be the glass on this fixture. It's going to come in 2 different shapes. Those different shapes are going to be available in different types. So there's a lot of detail to zero in on and really focus on here. And as we talked about before, the 2 shapes, they actually attached differently to the fixture itself. So let's hop into this for a second. This is going to be one of these shapes, and you'll notice it's kind of a pinch on the side. So it's kind of a cup shape. It's hand blown, absolutely beautiful. Hole on the end, and as we talked about before, this is the one that's going to be using this piece right here. This is a metal tube. It has threading in the end, and what you're going to be doing is putting your hand in. You're going to be screwing this to the right. Remember, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. And this is going to be going over the socket to attach this to the fixture itself. This piece is going to be available in 2 different types. So it's going to be available in, this is called cool gray, which is really pretty. It's also going to be available in clear. So both of these types, actually, you can see through. They're clear on their own. So you're going to be able to see the bulb popping out of this, which is why we talked about before that you want to do some sort of most likely frosted bulb, or stick with your halogen, one of the 2. Frosted bulb if you're doing an LED. Halogen, you're going to be doing a frosted one anyway if you go there. So anyway, that's going to be one of your options. So kind of remember that. So clear, cool gray, or clear. Just regular clear, okay? But remember, you can see through both. And they have that cute little pinch on the side. It looks like someone went like that, just like that. Okay, this is the other one. So this is the one, this reminds me a lot. I used to work in the design world in the city before I came back to Vermont. I grew up here. And one of the things we used to work with was dome glass from France, D-A-U-M. If you do a Google search on it, bring it up, and you'll see unbelievable, beautiful glass going back for hundreds of years. This reminds me so much of dome. It's not even funny. But it's not dome, but I don't know how they, how Hubbardton Forge magically came up with some beautiful design like this and found somebody that could do something of this quality is beyond me. But, okay, let's talk about the shape on this. So, you notice the shape is very different than this shape, okay? This is just a very simple, kind of almost like a red wine shape with a couple pinches in it. This one's very different. You notice the top of this has these beautiful indentations in it, okay? And then you have a couple dimples on the side, both sides, right? That's where they actually took, when it was still hot, they took little tongs and they pushed in to make the sides there. And then you see the end on this is actually a smaller hole kind of pinched in. So this is an absolutely gorgeous piece. You can get it really close to you. A tricky thing about it is that it has this silver ring embedded in the glass and it has threading inside. This is going to screw over the socket just like this. And you actually want to have, like we talked about before, you want to have your light bulb in before you put it in because you can't get your hand in the end of this. So you're just going to slowly turn it to the right and it'll go right onto the threading of the socket and it's going to be fabulous. It says it's frosted. It's frosted on the inside. I don't know how they did it. It's most likely either sandblasted or it's an acid of some sort. But they were able to actually sandblast or make this matte on the inside. The outside is actually glossy. I mean, this is just so beautiful. So it has this incredibly translucent, milky quality to it. It's a great piece of glass. You know, I might just buy the glass on its own and see if I can find out something I can do with it because it's so cool. So anyway, these are going to be your two different shapes and types of glass. So remember, this one's going to be cool gray and cool gray or clear, and both of them are clear. You can see right through them, as you can see me, right? This one is going to be this glossy on the outside, matte on the inside, and you're not going to be able to see the bulb for the most part on this one. You might be able to see a little bit of it, but not much. So just you don't have to be so careful when you're buying the bulbs for this guy because it's going to be more opaque. Okay, so remember that on both of these how they work. Let's get into finishes now. If you're on the HandmadeInVermont.com website, look over on this side of the screen. Midway down, you're going to see a tab. It's going to say Finishes Help Guide. Click on that for me. There's going to be a video on there of me talking to you guys about the differences in Hubbardton forged finishes and how they can look on different types of forging. I'm going to be talking about a chart a little farther down on the page. You'll see it next to me here. It's going to kind of go over the differences between heavy forging and non-heavy forging, and it'll be talked about in that video. So it's really important that you kind of watch the video, use the chart. You can click on that chart on different things. So you can click on dark smoke and a big page will pop up and show you lots of different things in dark smoke. Click on burnished steel or natural iron, it'll do the same thing. But it's really important that you understand how Hubbardton Forge's finishes are kind of divided into translucent and opaque and how they can look on different fixtures. Our showroom in Vermont has we're up to 400 Hubbardton Forge fixtures spread across 2 floors. We have a What's on Display page. It's way up there in those red tabs again, so click on that and you can see what we have to show you. That changes all the time because we're always adding things as they come out. Showroom's open every day except Sunday from 11 to 6. We have an amazing clearance center here too. Clearance center stuff is 75% off MSRP. It's returns, discontinued things, and showroom samples. If you were coming to visit us, bring a good-sized vehicle, something like a big SUV or maybe a small truck or something like that, because you might find something in the clearance center that you want to take home, and it's a lot of fun to go through. 75% off MSRP is an amazing bargain, so you should really take advantage of it if you can. Like I said, we're open every day except Sunday from 11 to 6. I'm here every day except Sunday from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. You can call us at 802-446-2400 during business hours. You can email us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, all the time. We love to answer emails. When you buy your Hubbardton Forge fixtures from HandmadeInVermont.com, shipping is free to every state except Alaska and Hawaii. There's no tax if we ship out of the state of Vermont, and we're the only dealer with 90-day returns and no restocking fees. No one else even comes close to that. Some larger items are non-returnable. We'll always tell you about that. It'll be in the description thing, that part of the description underneath on the very bottom. So keep an eye out for that. We also offer a rush program. Hubbardton Forge generally takes about 3 to 4 weeks to get product out. They don't stock anything. That's how you're going to get all your finishes, your adjustable ranges to play with, all those things. We can cut that time in half, and it's super inexpensive. If you want to know more, drop a quick email, and I can walk you through the whole thing, okay? So, if you guys have any other questions, let me know. Love to see you in our showroom sometime, and have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.